What kind of digital citizen are you, Secretary General?
Digital era, but I'm also enthusiastic about the capacity for us to bring people together, governments.
He's co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Good to have you here, Melinda. What kind of digital citizen are you?
Well, I'd like to say I'm digitally literate, but my 16-year-old daughter might say I'm not as literate as I think I am.
Because exactly.
So I would say I'd like to think I'm digitally literate, but maybe I'm actually digitally illiterate.
oh my goodness. No, co-chair on this high-level panel on digital cooperation. What kind of digital citizen are you, Jack?
Yeah, after being working at the internet industry for 25 years, beginners.
So the Secretary General gave you both a challenge and also safe. That was the premise of why you got together and then you headed up this
consultation from many people, even outside the panel, and then several panel discussions and meetings.
Jack, what did you come to the table thinking? What are you going to try and do? You had 9 months to get this done.
That we should not worry about the future. Nobody is how we can work in together and to face this challenge. So I think it's a great fun to work in the 9 months.
Women need to not only be digitally literate so they can take advantage of mobile money or being able to save, if they're in a remote location, let's say in Malawi, be able to save $1 a day that we want to create.
Jack, got a tweet in here from the Seaware Federation. In what way can
the most important element of the value of this digital
that I saw that kind of blew me away about how people were using the people who had smartphones, but even the people who had normal plastic phone, they're using WhatsApp in profound ways to go find piecemeal work.
What are you most concerned about in terms of inclusion so that the whole world can benefit?
In relation to global development and to a fair development. But for that, there is platforms enable us to reach everybody. So let's invest to make
that, I couldn't agree with more, because in Rwanda, can you imagine a farming Rwanda, Africa? That especially globalization is nothing wrong, but globalization is not inclusive enough. In the older technology, you cannot help those small business, young people that can global.
And he has a little bit of pushback here. He posts, the internet is ultra inclusive. There should be a huge push to get every single person on the planet easy access. Because he doesn't think that there's a gender bias there. He thinks that everybody could be online. How did you discuss this at the high level panel? How did you discuss getting more people digital access?
So Anthony's absolutely right. The internet should be for everybody, but today it's not. 40 arms away, you're actually going to be helping with her safety. So we do have some cultural issues to overcome, and one of the reasons I'm so glad that the SG had this panel come together is we need to look at it as a world and say we need to be investing in human capital and infrastructure. But infrastructure today is not just roads and water and electricity.
Rural communities all over the world are struggling with digital access. Did you get to the how, or did you just say?
But I think road is important, but the infrastructure of the internet access, internet connection is so important. People, so we have to change.
Machine like people, so could they replace us?
Yeah, in the past 20, 30, like a machine. Next 30, 40 years, we will.
Excites me most, the kind that saves lives. Read on to see how countries like Uganda have used technology for positive disruption. So here we're looking at
honestly of what technology is going to do in education in terms of curriculum, in terms of what kids can learn no matter where they live, and then information about where jobs.
The fantastic things about this panel is that not only they have shown how we can maximize the use of this huge potential, but also they have addressed the problems, because only cooperating together we will be able to limit the threats that exist.
Good. So this is the difference between IT and DT, from yourself to empower the others. Second, I think tech should be good, because this technology is going to be so powerful that these are the things the private sector should worry about too. Because
so
if
the government shouldn't worry about.
No, not only government worry about.
You, Jack and Melinda, because people do worry about safety online and in the digital space. So this is from Aro Lasun in Nigeria. We can
like transportation. At one point in our history, human beings walked across the plains and on the planet. Then we rode horses and other means of transportation. But I'm willing to do that at the airport because I can arrive safely. That is how I think we need to think about technology.
There are problems that do not come from the technology.
Yeah.
Hate speech. We always had hate speech. The technology amplifies hate speech, but we all have political problems, and that's act in a way that the technology becomes a plus and not a minus in that action. But sometimes when I think
To
we
look
need
after your-
governance,
Yeah.
and there are proposals for governance.
From India says that the internet has changed her life because she can email, she can video people. A young man.
I think on the exciting board ended up, how do you do this human-centered design? How do you make it inclusive so that it really changes dollars a day? They have power in their family. If they're in India, their mother-in-law sees them differently. They'll tell you, my young son sees me differently when I've saved a few dollars a day, and I get us excited as a panel.
Yeah. I think it's so inclusive. I remember years ago I went to Peru. There was a demonstration against the free trade, and I was you can borrow 1 minute. So this is all the technology that is changing the world. That's why young people, they don't have, yes, they want to have a future. Africa want to have a future. So this is what we see. It's a complex. Everybody should discuss, look into it, because when you worry because you don't know things, when you discuss, when you see it through, when we read this report, I think people.
Jack's point exactly. People who could never get credit before, who couldn't go to a bank, they didn't have enough credit to take out a loan, simply by looking at companies that are pulling them in are saying, we want to have those women as drivers and as small business owners, so they will go help them fill out and get their various places that aren't the capitals of the world, see the change, palpable change it's having in their lives.
You are and companies that are that big, and the other one is China. So let's look at the big digital companies.
Concerned for good reason. We all have a right to our privacy and to our data. And I think what you're seeing is because that conversation has come forward, and you're seeing it, and the GS came out too. Regulations are self-governing around, should we move from VHS to CD-ROM? There were lots of different standards.
If we would discuss this 5 years ago, companies would be very reticent to enter into this discussion and say we want this to everybody. I think companies are now much more open, and we have discussed all these examples with the condition that everybody can benefit. And let's not forget, half of the world population
Is in the center. Big means does not mean size. Big means responsibility. When you grow big, but if you do not pay attention to privacy, you do not pay attention to data security, you do not pay. It's so new to any government. So as a person in the internet, I have to let every government, why not the other countries? Right? We totally changed China and the internet circumstance in the past 20 years. We think in Africa.
Secretary General, you gave the high-level panel on digital cooperation an assignment. Melinda and Jack were heading up that.
intelligence reports. And these reports will be a fantastic, because we will be celebrating the 75th anniversary of the United Nations next year. I want it to be the
So, Melinda Gates, Jack Ma, it sounds like you scored an A+. Thank you very much for bringing this conversation. Can you find this very positive, enthusiastic report about